It's 4 PM Central European Time on a Sunday, which means it is time for the Thyworm Weekly Roundup with my curated news and personal gaming endeavors. This is episode 23. Are you enjoying these? Consider subscribing. In a bit we have a story about an indie developer offering a package of $250,000, but first the regular coverage of games. Curse of the Dead Gods released a major patch. It's big, it's fun, it's essentially a whole new bunch of game modes which offer a healthy variety in addition to the core game. The game is already really good. It's challenging but fair. I love the art style and the way everything looks and explodes. Enemies are clearly visible when fighting. The music and sound effects are solid. Curse of the Dead Gods is one of the best early access projects on Steam at the moment, no doubt about it. And the new game modes add an extra layer to the fun. There are 8 in total, and to unlock the new game modes you need to complete the regular content on that tier first. An example of such a game mode is the Cursed Archer, which curses you each shot you let fly from a powerful bow, but doesn't curse you when moving through zones. It forces you to be creative when killing enemies, because if you only use the bow you'll accumulate too many curses, and if you reach 5 curses you'll die pretty quickly. So make use of the environments, make use of the spider webs and set them on fire. Take advantage of curses and relics in order to limit the number of arrows you have to shoot. It's a delicate balance, but it's also the easier mode, so I was able to kill the boss with just 2 curses active and complete the game mode. This should give you some idea on what to expect in the other newly added game modes as well, which will be a lot more challenging. I can imagine the next iteration on this system are daily quests, where you get a certain starting kit, maybe a few curses, and then you just have to complete the mission. It changes each day. If they made the engine modular and built the game in such a way that you could change a few variables and the procedural generation would do the rest, then I think this is possible. Or maybe a weekly quest, just for some additional variety. Wolcen dropped their weekly patch of fixes 1.0.13.0, so they're hard at work at fixing their game. They got a lot of flack, they're also a relatively small studio, and while the criticism is warranted, it's also I think fair to point out these guys and girls are hard at work at making Wolcen a better game. It's small steps, honestly, but it is steps in the right direction. Next to the fixes, there's a bit of new functionality. There are a bunch of unique accessories added to the loot tables that drop for level 65+, and also sound feedback got added when using reagents on items. Sanctum Breach has a demo available. That's good news, because the game is in alpha according to the single developer Sam Keats, who is creating this indie action RPG. And an alpha stage game is simply not for everyone, including myself, to be honest. I played Sanctum Breach for a few hours, but I find it a bit like too wonky and unfinished in its current state to really enjoy it. It just lacks a lot of polish. I keep track of the game because I find it intriguing to see what one man can do in terms of development. New developments are usually reported in a weekly roundup. You can support the dev by buying the game, like I did. But if you want to play something like this in alpha stage, it's good to know what you're getting. That's why I hope the demo might drive some audience towards this game, and maybe also serve as an indicator as to how many people are interested in a game which is in this stage of development. So go check out the demo. Naxia released a 2-minute video talking about character design and item design. Naxia is an indie action RPG that is currently in early access. While it is a decent first implementation, the game lacks content, randomized loot and of course overall polish. I had fun playing it, but the game is 1.5 hours long with a price tag of €16, which I think is too much for what you're getting. Curse of the Dead Gods, in comparison, is €15. Naxia released in November 2019, and the state I'm describing here is the current state, but also the state that it launched in. Nothing happened since November. The game is in dire need of upgrades, but due to the virus this wasn't happening. In March a patch was supposed to release, but that's now postponed until further notice. We're getting video updates instead. I appreciate the communication, and I guess there's nothing the team can do about it currently. The video itself gives a glimpse of the new character models of one of the 4 classes. You're looking at the only playable class, however. It looks good, the armor looks cool as well. I just hope that they release some stuff sometime soon, so we can dive back in, but mostly so we can see what half a year of development did to this game. That should give us a good indication of its execution power down the line. Tribes of Midgard introduced a new program, the Midgardians. It's a bit like the Kinderguardians without the guns. Instead, it's a group of people testing the game internally without open or closed betas. It's for people who want to be more involved in the community. The questionnaire contains a lot of questions about your social media accounts, followers on that account, and basically how much influence you have online. It seems like they're looking for people to promote the game. The caveat is that you have to sign an NDA, which makes sense. It's also very impractical for a content creator like me, but I'll sign it, get into this program, because I applied and was accepted. That also means I won't be able to report on whatever happens during this time, but if anything, it will give me a good insight in the development of the game, which is always useful for later. I'm actually interested to see how the game develops. It's a very promising game, while at the same time I felt it lacked a good reason to keep me playing. The gameplay was a bit too unbalanced and shallow to elevate this game above the standard fight and survival action RPG. The premise is certainly interesting, with you and up to 7 others in a world, starting out as an almost naked Viking, having to gather and craft and protect your village against giants roaming the lands. You can create your own gear, you can build defenses, it's pretty fun to do and reach higher waves of incoming enemies and giants. I just found it too shallow, the whole thing. The co-op aspect wasn't smooth enough to easily create a pickup group and venture to do some stuff together. Compare this to, let's say, Kill Squad, where you just drop into a mission and kill some monsters with a random stranger and that just works. Tribes of Midgard made it difficult to work together because of limited communication means. For a co-op game, I found that rather problematic. Wild West and Wizards relieves early access next week, they announced in a tweet. The game offers a lot of content, some beautiful scenery, clean graphics in a unique, uncomplicated art style. You can play 3 classes with very distinct skills. You can wield guns and use magic at the same time. It features a big open world, and purchasing this game doesn't break the bank either, with it being available on Steam for €12.50. I've been reporting on Wild Terra 2 New Lands for a few episodes now, a survival crafting top-down game. It's a fun game, it's in early access, the devs are working on it, it's gradually getting better over time. I'm enjoying this game whenever I play it. So far, so good. The game also offers multiple support packages for you to buy, and monetization has been rather aggressive. For example, every Steam post about the game ends with the message to pledge and support the project. Every post I've read. And those packages weren't cheap, but I'm not going to tell people what to do with their money, right? What I will be critical about is the intentions of this game and the monetization practices, because whether it's true or not, by constantly asking people to pay money up front, and significant sums of money by the way, you're undermining what early access is about, which is improving your game instead of getting funded. I'm not sure what you guys would normally do with $250,000. Maybe buy a house, pay off your student loans, order a few drinks, help people during the crisis. Or you could give it to the developers of Wild Terra 2 New Lands in their latest released limited offer. But be quick, there's only one guys, and someone else might get it before you can wire the money. In this game, for only $250,000, which is a reasonable amount, you can become master of the world. You get some perks, sure, but honestly what you're actually getting is a private server, your own island with a bunch of cheat codes, and it will look pretty. People were outraged about Star Citizen, where apparently the most expensive ship is $2,500 according to this older article. I searched the website of Star Citizen and the most expensive game package I could find was $1,331. People were equally outraged, and rightfully so by the way, about Fallout First, which charges you about $200 per year for a private server. These games, however, bleak in comparison to this package. It is just extremely sketchy. In the Steam posts there are no mentions of these prices. In the picture of the webpage in said Steam post, the price buttons are removed. That sort of equally removes the option of this being a typo, because surely removing that button requires you to at least look at it in Photoshop and once again realizing what it actually says. That button asks you to basically donate a house. That's not all, however. From the regular packages, the most expensive one is the most popular according to the website. There's no way to check this, but that's unlikely, just taking regular statistics into account. People don't normally buy on average the most expensive package. the average would be the most popular because the average has the highest sales numbers. On average, consumers take the middle road, either builder or settler. In the Netherlands, where I live, if they're not truthful about what is actually the most popular package, this is false advertising and illegal. Once again, there's no way to check, but it would be a statistical outlier if most people actually bought the most expensive package. The special, newly introduced packages also weigh in heavily on buyer psychology. Fear of missing out at its finest. The level structure of these packs is designed in such a way that the more people buy it, the more they generally benefit from those packages. The packages go up in content, the more people buy that package, with an entire tier system. It's basically gambling, because you may or may not get what is in the description depending on how many people buy this package. One thing is for sure though, the devs get their money. I reported before on the somewhat excessive prices, but at that point in time, if I remember correctly, the cap was $10,000 for a package. That package is gone now, but that was before this crap hit the fan. Now, this is just a giant red flag. I mean, what is exactly the purpose of this game? I reported in January on a Warhammer Universe card game, Warhammer Underworlds Online. Back then, the early access was supposed to take only a few months, and lo and behold, it was actually true. Despite the corona, they kept incorporating player feedback and successfully built on their game, which is now officially released. They improved their Steam user rating from 65% at the start to 78% currently, so good for them. I haven't played this, but it's always nice to hear about a successful early access story, and this one was particularly short and sweet. Remember that tactical top-down game Desperados, or the sequel? Well, there's a third installment coming out. It's got an official release and the whole thing launches on June 16th, 2020. Now, I don't normally complain about graphics, but this trailer looks very stale to me. Not only do the graphics look 5 years old, the animations and movement seems very budget as well. The pre-order price, however, is €50, so it is a full-priced AAA game, which leaves you wonder really whether you're getting that full AAA experience. I don't see it currently. And this is a completely separate issue, and this may be a fantastic game in terms of gameplay, but I feel with games like these, which play out in mostly static environments, it's not too much to ask to brush up the environment a little bit, throw some nice visuals on there, make it look somewhat appealing. It really makes me wonder what efforts have been taken when it comes to the gameplay. A bit harsh criticism maybe, and very unsubstantiated, I'm well aware, but it's really all I thought of when watching this trailer. Some personal gaming updates, I've played last Epoch and made a lot of videos. And that's all I have for you this week. Follow me on Twitter at Thyworm. Thanks so much for watching guys, I'll see you all next week. Love you all, bye bye.